Hi, good afternoon. Shireen from Trinidad.
Welcome, Shireen.
Arlene from Maryland.
Thank you.
Welcome, Arlene from Maryland. Let's get those last minute text messages out. We are at 45, 46 people, 47.
Good
Like
morning.
I've said in a WhatsApp, we should have at least 100 people on this call.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, everyone. Mark Stewart from Los Angeles, Cali.
Welcome, Mark.
Dale Boudreaux, Louisiana.
Welcome, Dale. All right, we're at the halfway mark, 50.
Chris Harris, Turlock, California.
Welcome, Chris.
Thanks, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Louis Rangel, Downey, California.
Welcome, Louis.
When I get home. Paul Hahn, Gardena, California.
Welcome, Paul.
Kathy Jewell, Houston, Texas.
Welcome, Kathy.
You can't sell, Boston, Mass.
Welcome from Boston.
Sarah George, Maryland.
Welcome, Sarah.
Yeah, from the Downey office.
Welcome from Downey. We're getting today started, getting the week off right.
Tony Denner, Northern California.
Mr. Denner, welcome.
Jabari Sadler, Atlanta, Georgia. Let's go. Happy Monday.
Georgia's in the building.
Yes, sir.
Jessica from the Downey office.
Welcome, Jessica.
Jim Meadows, Denver, Colorado.
Welcome, Jim from Colorado. Okay, numbers are picking up. We're at 60 now. Get some more text. Let's get to 100. Valuable information will be passed along. If you're new to the company, get a pen, get a pad, gonna take some copious notes. Get some people on
Recording in
call
progress.
that are brand new, because we're going to be passing along some great information on how to be the perfect mentee.
Hello, this is Chris, Long Beach, California.
Welcome from Long Beach. And we are at 10:05. Do we want to get started? Are you ready, Idris? Check one,
Yes, sir.
2, 1, 2.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Let's go ahead and get started.
All right. I'm handing the mic over to Mr. Idris. He's one of the top mentors at the company. You'll see him quite a bit popping up in WhatsApp because he's down into the system. He's a mentor now, and he's closing deals for mentees left and right. So today, this morning, we're going to learn how to be the perfect mentee. Not mentor, the perfect mentee. So I'm going to hand the mic over to you, Idris, and let's get going.
Awesome. Well, first and foremost, definitely want to say appreciate you, Mr. McHenry, for doing all of the welcomes and inviting everyone in and getting this party started. Appreciate you for everything you do on and off the screen. You do a lot of work for, BYLD, and a lot of people don't really even get a chance to see it. So definitely appreciate you. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started and, talk about how, once again, to be the perfect mentee. All right. For those who don't necessarily know me, obviously, my name is Idris Alaka. I've been in the solar industry for quite a while, all right, to say the least. And but believe it or not, actually working in the tri-state area of New York, I've been kind of playing in that mentee role for a while. I actually got a chance to open my own business and help a lot of solar consultants in that area, kind of like, once again, get going, up and running, and kind of like, get on their feet. So I'm very familiar with the process. Took a look at BYLD and everything made sense. So as so many mentees come and join the team now, it's very exciting to see. And what kind of, before I even jump into the training, I want to make sure that you guys have the right mindset. right? So first and foremost, the company is extremely dynamic, right? The company allows you to, or allows us to be able to maximize from everything that they offer in so many different ways, right? One of those ways, obviously, is the mentee. There's a mentor, there's level two, there's a builder side of things, and some people take a part in all, right? However, once again, we're talking today about the mentee. And I just want you guys to understand that the mentee position is probably one of the most valuable positions in the company, right? Because you're the one generating the lead, grabbing the lead, creating the lead, and then passing it off to someone else to actually be able to close, right? And the reality is, everyone who joins BYLD doesn't need to be a level two, doesn't need to necessarily even be a mentor if you don't want to, right? That option and that it's available to you if you want to do so, right? So I just want you to keep that in mind. But the mentee position is huge, right? So let's dig into it. I hope everyone has a pen and a piece of paper. I don't have a bunch of slides and things of that nature, but we're going to break this down very simple, right? There's basically 5 steps to being the best mentee you could be, right? And hear me clearly, as one of the best mentees, you will generate a lot of attention from the mentors. You'll generate a lot of attention from your leader, right? Your builder, the builder in your organization. You'll generate a lot of interest and a lot of attention from the right people if you are the right mentee. And the reason why I try to clarify that is because there's some mentees that people don't want to necessarily work with for a variety of different reasons. All right. So this is why we're going through this training today. So first and foremost, right? First area of operation is once again picking an area of concentration. Right now, there's a lot of trainings that go on all throughout the week. And since BYLD has started about basically how to generate leads, right? So we all know how to generate leads. There's a lot of different ways, and that's not my training to go over and tell you exactly what to do. However, as a mentee, someone brand new getting started in the BYLD in this industry, you want to pick somewhat of a concentration. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes people are all over the place, right? They're trying to door knock, they're trying to do online leads, they're trying to put money here, they're trying to put money there, they're trying to do all of this stuff all at the same time. And when you have no concentration, right, a confused mind does nothing, right? So you want to have a concentration. And here's the concentration. It's very simple, right? Things that we hear about all day, right? There's 3 different markets. So there's a cold market, right? And I'm gonna take this very slow. So the cold market is cold calling, right? Door to door, right? Online leads. Cold market has roughly about a 10% closing ratio. All right. So if that's what you choose to do, that's fine. Once again, I'm not here to tell you what to do, but cold market has roughly about a 10% closing ratio, right? Then you have warm market, right? Warm market are your friends, your family, your neighbors, etc., right? People from possibly like a BNI, things of that nature, right? Roughly about a 50% closing ratio, right? So getting a little warmer here. But the market that I specifically like to operate in myself when it comes to my own personal deals is the hot market, right? And the hot market is referrals from people that you've personally presented to, right? Deals that you've closed in the past, right? And install customers, right? So if you're a mentee on the line and you have installed clients, you have people that someone else presented to, and they did a good job and everything was good. The deals, the referrals you get from those are hot market, and those have roughly about a 70 to 80% closing ratio, right? It's hot, right? So I told myself a long time in this industry, if I was going to spend time somewhere, why not spend time where I'm going to get the biggest result or the biggest return, all right? In my experience, like I said, been in the solar industry for about 10 years. I've seen a lot of people spend a lot of time in markets that where they get burnt out, right? It's just the reality. They spend a lot of time there, they're doing a lot of work, but they get burnt out. So you want to put your time where your best skill set is, whether that's cold, warm, or hot, right? So once again, find a concentration, right? So that's step number one. Step number two is set the stage. As a mentee, you setting the stage as a mentee is huge, right? Also setting the right expectations, right? So let's dig into that. So the beautiful thing about what I'm about to go through right now is that we've all heard it, right? And it's simple. Peak interest, get the bill, book the appointment, right? You probably thought there was some special sauce to this, right? There's no special sauce. Sticking to the script, right? So peak interest, right? So there's a variety of different scripts that we have in the back office, that JC Rangel, Mr. JC Rangel put together for all of us to use for you to pique someone's interest, right? And I love the way he did it because depending on the market, one, right? But depending on who you're talking to, you have a different script to approach them, right? So you want to pique their interest. Secondly, you want to get the bill, right? Now, it's a simple process, right? You want to get the bill, right? And I want to be clear about this, right? We need a full picture, a full clear picture of the bill, all four corners of each page, right? So this is what you need, I should say, as a mentee. This is not what I need as a mentor. This is what you need as a mentee, all right? So a full, clear picture of the bill that shows everything, right? So just so you guys know, and I know some mentees don't know this, but if you send just a bar graph, right, it's incomplete, right? Can't really see what the homeowner is actually paying. So it changes the dynamics. Any information that you leave out changes the dynamics of how the deal is going to be closed, right? So if you give us half information, then we're going to give the client half information, all right? And then that means that your chances of closing actually goes down. So you want to be diligent with finding all of the information that you need from the bill and passing that through. Right now, I know sometimes some homeowners are a little bit reluctant to give you the bill because it has their personal information and, things get a little bit strange and weird. Here's something that I say to all of my homeowners that I get the bill from. Let's say I ask someone for the bill. Hey, Mr. Homeowner, can I have your bill? And they're like, oh, well, I'm not sure because, I'm not sure if it's going to, I don't know what you're going to do with it. Right. Obviously, I'll say something like a joke, like the only thing I could do is pay for your bill. Ha ha ha. But in addition to that, I'll tell the homeowner, listen, the only way I can see how much we can help you save is if I see the information from your bill. If you're not willing to send me the bill, then I don't know how much we can help you save, right? It's a give and take, right? If you give them a little bit, then you can take some, right? And vice versa, right? So once again, full picture of the bill. And then after that, you want to book the appointment, right? So you want to see the mentor schedule, right? I know a lot of mentors on the line in the company, they use Calendly, and you can just book the appointment right then and there, right? But yeah, you just want to book the appointment and you should have, and once again, as you're booking the appointment, the company put in place for us to do everything through Zoom, right? So this is something that you want to tell your client ahead of time, right? You want them to be aware that it's going to be on Zoom, right? I just got off an appointment just now, and it took about 15 minutes for the client to get on the phone, all right, or on the Zoom, because they weren't necessarily aware, right? So yes, and in the morning of, personally, what I do is I try to call everyone to the best of my ability and try to confirm, make sure that things are taking place. But as a mentee, what you want to do is you want to make sure that the client knows it's a Zoom presentation or Zoom consultation. In addition to that, these are a few tips that I would just add, right? You want to let the client know that they should be on their computer, right? And not necessarily on a phone, right? Now, I understand it. Some people may not have a computer, and I get it, right? Some people may not, whatever the case may be, I understand. However, I want you to think about this. When was the last time you knew someone who closed a $50,000, $75,000 deal on their phone, walking around and, ShopRite, right? These things don't necessarily happen, right? So you want your client to be in a quiet, kind of like controlled location, right? The more of a control location it is, the easier it makes it for the mentee to be able to help you close the deal, right? So you kind of like just want to set those expectations up front. And another way of booking appointments when you have that mentee's calendar, just kind of like funnel them in, right? So usually when I'm speaking to a client and I'm booking an appointment, I'll just give them a few options. Which one works best? Weekdays or weekends, right? They say weekends, perfect. Which day works best? Saturday or Sunday, right? They say Sunday, perfect. Which best? Afternoons or mornings? Mornings, afternoons. Mornings, perfect. Which time is best? 8 a.m. or 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. I'm sorry. Right? And I let them choose. What that does is it basically gives the client, it makes them feel like they have ownership in the appointment, right? If you book an appointment and you say I can only do this time, once again, now it's you dictating the situation and not necessarily the client, right? So you are going to dictate the situation, but you want to have them feel like there's some ownership in the process as well. Does that make sense? Perfect, perfect. So that's stage number two, right? Stage number three is the consultation, right? So before, right? Before the actual appointment, you want to give the mentee as much information about the client as possible, right? So whether this is the day before, the morning of, maybe about 10, 15 minutes before, 5 minutes before, whatever it may be. Reason why is because the more information you give your mentor, right, the more we know how to position the deal for your client, right? So for instance, if I know the client is, let's say, a little older and retired, right, I'm gonna have a different option for that client than I would someone who's maybe a little bit younger, and and working, right? So we want to know that information. Whose name's on the bill? Whose name's on the title of the house? Some of this information is important, right? And depending on where you get your leads from, right? You may know the person or you may not, right? So I'm just saying, get as much information as you can and have a conversation with the mentor, because ideally, you don't want the mentor just meeting a person for the first time, not really knowing what to do or where to lead the conversation, right? The more we know, the better we can actually help, right? So once again, that's before the consultation. During the consultation, right? So give a quick intro. All right. Introduct your mentor or solar specialist in this case, right, to your client. When we get on the call and it's just, white noise and it's dead space, once again, it's kind of awkward, right? So everyone write this down. You can do a small intro to or from your mentor, right? So once again, the name, obviously. So you want to know their name and you want to know it clearly, right? Because if you introduce your mentor to your client and you say the wrong name, then once again, it's kind of already breaking trust that you don't really know them, right? And once again, we're not selling lotions and potions here. We're selling 50, 60, $70,000 products, right? So you want to make sure that there's some kind of trust, right? And respect, right? So first and foremost, your name, right? Mentor's name, first name, last name, the years in the solar industry, right? Whether it's been 20 years, whether it's been 5 years, 10 years, any amount of years sounds good, right? They're helping people all over the country, right? So once again, guys, this is a nationwide solar brokerage that we're running here. So your mentor is helping people all over the country. However, they specialize in this state. Whichever state your client is in, this is where your mentor specializes in, right? Whether it's his first deal or 15th deal or 50th deal, it doesn't matter. Why? Because you want your client to feel confident about the process. If you get on a call and there's no real, strong introduction to your mentor, then the client is really not really going to be listening to what the mentor may really say, right? And they're going to be listening with a different ear. Whereas if you edify them and once edify them and let them know this person knows what they're talking about and they're a solar specialist in this area, now the client is listening with different ears, right? Does that make sense? Give me some head nods out there. If you guys are with me, give me some head nods. All right, awesome. All right, so that's what's going on during the consultation. Now we're getting a little bit deep, right? And I have to mention this, right? You want to be engaged in the consultation, right? So when we're having a consultation, if the camera, before I even start, right? We are talking about selling 50, 60, up to 100 and, $50,000 solar systems sometimes, right? If you're not engaged in a situation, then your client may not they may not respect the situation, right? And they may take it as a joke if they see you taking it as a joke, right? So if you come on and then the camera's on and off and there's like a lot of distractions and things of that nature, guys, don't set the appointment if you're not going to be there for it, right? That's just the reality of the situation. Right? If you're not going to be there for the appointment, then don't set it, right? Once again, we're not selling stuff. Like this is some real important stuff for a homeowner, right? So you want to take it that way. So you want to be engaged, you want to have your camera on, and you want to be in a professional setting, right? So I definitely understand there's a lot of people who, do this during the day. Maybe they're at work. Maybe they're doing a consultation, on the job. I get it 100%. But your client sometimes may give the same amount of attention that you're giving because you're the one referring the client over to the mentor, right? So if you're distracted, you're basically giving your client the ability to be distracted as well, right? So you just want to make sure that you're focused, you're dialed in. Another reason that you may want to be dialed in is for those mentees who have aspirations of potentially being a level two, right? Being a mentor one day, right? Because if you're not paying attention to what's going on, right, then you're never going to know how to do it on your own, right? So if you're constantly distracted, once again, you're never going to know exactly what to do and or say when it's your turn to get in the field, right? I remember a long time ago, one of my first consultations where I was shadowing someone else. After the call, I asked a lot of questions, right? And I wanted to know, right? The more information I knew, the more I could empower myself to actually go ahead and do my own presentations. So you want to make sure that you're engaged, you're taking notes, you're being professional. And the questions that you want to ask, right? Why did you say this? Right? And let me just take a step back. These are for those people, mentees who want to be mentors, want to be level twos, right? Because before I even jump into that, in a consultation, the mentor is taking the client down a road that the mentor knows, right? I can easily say every mentor, every closer on a call right now, when we have a consultation, we're taking them down a road that more than likely we know and no one else kind of knows that process, right? So you want to ask questions like, why did you say this, right? If you're looking to possibly close your own deals, right? Why didn't you say this? Tell me a little bit more about this. Tell me a little bit more about that. And this is not during the consultation, by the way. This is you taking notes to ask after the consultation, right? After the consultation, not during, right? Just want to put that out there. How does this work? Right? Once again, your mentor is going to be explaining, hey, solar works like this, net metering works like this. You have net metering in your state. You don't have net metering in your state. Here's a battery. Here's how many batteries, right? These are questions you want to jot down to ask after the consultation, right? It's so funny because I see all of the questions that are, put in the group, and there's a lot of great questions. Most of those questions will be answered in a consultation, right? Most of them. All right. So you just have to have one first and foremost, and then just take some notes, right? So that's step number 3, right? And that is during the consultation. Step number 4 is the closing, right? Now, this is my experience. I'm sure this may be some other mentors' experience as well. In the closing, as I just mentioned, your mentor is taking your client down a road you may not understand, right? So this is not the time to get a little antsy and start to ask questions, right? I'll put it like this. If the mentor is asking, or if they're taking them down a road and the mentor is quiet, there's a reason. At the close, right? This doesn't mean, hey, I want to start talking, I want to start asking questions, I want to, get involved. Let the mentor do their job, right? And that's to help you close the deal, right? So, you don't want to get antsy. You don't want to start asking and or answering questions. Here's another thing, right? You want to allow the mentor to answer the questions for you, right? There might be a question that you know. That's great, right? But if you don't, you may know a question, but you may know it for a specific market, and you may not know it for the market that you're actually on, for the client that you're on a call with. So you may answer it wrong, and that one wrong answer may lose the deal for you. So you literally want to let the mentor do their job, answer the questions for you. Just so you guys know as well, all right? Mentors aren't perfect and they don't work magic, all right? So you can't just throw a lead in front of us and expect us to just close every deal. So when deals don't close, guess what? That's part of the process, right? Every homeowner is not necessarily looking to take advantage of solar. Every homeowner may not qualify to take advantage of solar. So if a deal doesn't close, it's okay, right? This is why, once again, in all sales, it's kind of like the law of numbers, right? So you can't, add two or three leads in and expect all three of them to close. And when they don't, you're frustrated at the mentor. That's not how this works, right? Many deals don't close for many different reasons, right? We hear JC talk about it so many different times about, from some of the mentors, from some of the level twos, they basically they get not rejected, but the amount of deals that they don't close is so many more than most people even do, right? So I just want you to think about that, right? If I look back at my calendar this past week, let's just say there was 20 appointments. Out of the 20 appointments, only 2 deals closed, right? So out of 20, I probably sat with 10. Out of the 10, 2 deals closed, right? So once again, what should my focus be, right? Should my focus be on, the fact that I closed two deals, or should my focus be how many more sets of 20 can I get on the calendar, right? So this is where we want to think about from a mentee perspective as well, right? How many more sets of 20? How many more sets of 10? Once you know your ratio, my ratio is 1 out of 5, right? So how many sets of 5 can I get on my calendar to book more appointments, right? Once you do that, once again, you'll start seeing so many more closes in your business, right? So let me get back on track, right? So the closing, as the mentor is closing your deal out, right? So I know I do this. I'm not sure if yeah, I know I do this, right? So as if the deal doesn't close, right? I'm speaking to the client and I'm basically I'm explaining a follow-up time, right? Write the follow-up time down, right? Don't just leave that to the mentor. This is your client, right? Write the follow-up time down. So if I'm speaking to a client and they say, okay, well, it's not good, whatever the case may be, and I'm asking them, okay, well, when's the next best time to follow up with you, right? This week, at the end of this week, is it Thursday or Friday, right? Okay, so they said Thursday. Okay, write Thursday down, right? Is it at, in the morning and the afternoon? Right. And once again, just write the follow-up time down so you can be a part of that process, right? In addition to that, only speak. Now, I know this may sound a little different, all right, but you only want to speak when the mentor basically opens the floor for you to do so, right? Sometimes mentees butt in and they take the deal off track because you said something now that wasn't in the playbook, right? And now the deal's off track. And now your mentor has to play Superman and try to get it back on track because you said something that you didn't even realize was going to be detrimental to the deal, but you wanted to add in, right? And I definitely understand it. We get it. But trust me when I say, don't speak until the floor is opened up for you, right? As I mentioned, there's a path that your mentor is taking your client through, right? And I want you to think about this. That path is to close the deal, right? Obviously, hopefully you guys know that. That path is for the mentor to close the deal. allow it to take place, right? And this is one thing I do after every consultation is a review, right? I review with the mentee because I want to know what questions did you have from this consultation, right? So also, I just want you guys to know and understand. Sometimes mentors' schedule is very hectic, right? There's appointments on top of appointments. There's appointments right back to back. Every consultation doesn't last 45 minutes, right? Some go a little longer, specifically if a deal's being closed. So sometimes scheduling is tight, right? Bear with us to the best of your ability, right? But also as a mentor, we have to be professional, let everyone know, of course, right? But just understand that, right? And once again, the review. So if I have a consultation, I had 3 appointments this morning. I only did 2, one canceled or rescheduled. So after every consultation, there's a review. So, hey, mentee, how did everything go? Give me some feedback. What questions do you have, right? Is there anything you want to know and or understand, right? So as a mentor, right, it's not the mentor's job to how am I trying to say this? It's not the mentor's job to make you a mentor, to make a mentee a mentor, right? Everyone that comes in a company, as I mentioned earlier, doesn't want to be a mentor, right? Everyone that comes in a company doesn't want to sell their own deals, right? So I'm not going to just flood you with a bunch of information that you may not want. This is why I say take notes. So afterwards, I can address any questions that you may have, right? But yes, you want to ask questions about the consultation. You want to ask questions about the mindset, right? What was the mindset that you had with this client, right? Why did you offer this, that, and the third, right? You want to know the mindset because most of solar sales, it's what I'm saying, once you understand it, but it's just a mindset about that client, right? The numbers always, I would say about 95%, about 90% of the time always make sense, right? But there's just a mindset that you're trying to get that client to understand, right? So once again, also sometimes you can ask about the commission breakdown as well, right? After the consultation, hey, how did we get to these numbers, right? Just so you know, right? We don't want people to be in the dark. And then also follow up, right? So if a deal doesn't close, then once again, ask questions about the follow-up. When we follow up next time, what are we going to do? Is it going to be Zoom? Is it a phone follow-up? When is it? How long is it? So on and so forth. Let's say the deal closes, right? Now it's a follow-through conversation. Hey, Mr. Mentor, what's the next steps? All right, just so you have an idea. Right? Now, is it the mentor's job to kind of like, once again, we may not have, there's a lot of information, right? And to not overly confuse people, right? We don't want to over explain situations, right? But it is good to ask questions and for us to give you the information that you're looking for, right? But just remember there's 2 sides. There's 2 sides of the situation. There's a mentee, obviously, and there's a mentor. But just additional notes, right? Those are the 5 steps, right? But there's some additional notes, right? Let's see. So the trust and respect triangle, right? So I talked about the introduction. Obviously, this is in business, network marketing, whatever you like to call it. Obviously, when you do 3 ways, there's the trust and respect triangle. It's the same thing when we're doing a consultation, right? So your client, in most cases, knows you and respects you, or they know you, right? But they may not respect your solar sense, right? This is why you want to do a good introduction, right? And just let your client know this is my solar specialist. Now, here's another thing. I know this is the how to be the best mentee call, and that's great. But guess what? Clients don't understand. Clients don't understand solar mentor. So you're speaking a different language when you say that to them, right? Say solar specialist, right? Sounds better, and it's easier for someone to understand, right? If anyone's been in network marketing before, sometimes you know when you hear the word, some certain buzzwords, right? It kind of turns people off, like mentor and this and that and so on and so forth. So use solar specialists, right? It hits a little better. Once again, be, look, and act the part, right? Now, this is something that I've realized over this time doing consultations through Zoom. I want to show up the same way I would in person. right? So everyone has a different style, and that's definitely okay. But you want to be, look, and act the part, right? So you want to remember, once again, as I've said multiple times, that we're offering, products, services that are 50, 60, $70,000, right? So if you don't look that way sometimes, right, depending on certain demographics you may be speaking to, so on and so forth, then they may not really take you serious, right? So you want to make sure that you're conscious of that, right? In addition to that, the solar industry is a construction, it's basically three industries in one, right? Or maybe four, right? But it's construction, real estate, finance, and also customer service, right? So you have to understand this when dealing with a client, right? There's a lot of construction stuff that goes on in a solar job, right? And if you're not from these worlds, guess what? This is why you have a mentor to help you take you through that process. So, for some of the new people who get started, they're trying to learn so much in such a short period of time. It's a lot to know. It's a lot to learn, right? This is why you have a mentor. But do understand it's a construction project, right? Being installed on someone's house. In addition to that, we deal with a lot of real estate issues, right? So understand that that's part of the solar industry. In addition to that, we deal with a lot of finance issues. When someone goes solar and they either take out a loan, they do a finance, once again, that's finance, right? So we have to understand that all of those industries are literally combined all in one, in addition to customer service as well. All right. And let's see. Yes. And so those are some of the just additional notes that I wanted to add in, for just context, I would say. But I do want to open up possibly if for any maybe like questions or thoughts anyone may have as well. Right. Chris, if you don't mind, can you help me out a bit?
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who has a question? Look, Dejan.
Dejan, yes.
Hold on, Dejan. I think you
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Hey, thank you so much. I wanted to share as both a mentor from the Canadian market and a mentee in the US market and working to become a mentor is one of the things that really kind of the word threw me for a loop comes to mind, which is that I was going like, well, the question the customer asked this, why aren't you answering it? And the answer is because in the sales process, there is this aspect of building tension. They need to need this. For us to be able to help them, they need to need this and want this. And there is a tension building process. And that's why sometimes, yes, they will get the answer, but they're gonna need to work to get it. So just wanted to share that for other mentees to benefit from.
Thank you. Keith?
Absolutely appreciate that.
It looks like Keith has his hand up. Go ahead.
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so I must definitely enthusiastically thank Mr. Idris Adaka. He really saved the day. I thought I had a time and I was coming out of elections. I was exhausted this morning and he called me. Boom, I was ready and my affiliate was ready. So he definitely rescued me with his professionalism. Thank you very much. I was looking forward to being on and hearing how the process goes. I do intend to be a mentor. Let me get right to what I want to say. I'm not much of a note taker. Anybody knows me from before. I've been in network marketing. I know the protocol, but the one point that I would like to address that might be helpful of other people, you said engage in conversation, and I know from experience that when you make the introduction, we zip the lip. We let the person do all the talking. But you said engage in the consultation because there may be some uncomfortability on the client, but then you also said later, but only when the mentor invites, because I wasn't going to say anything, man, but I had a sense that they might be uncomfortable. So can you clarify how to engage, but only when the mentor invites? Can you clarify that for me? Thank you.
Absolutely, and that's a great question. And when I say engage, right, is just be like how I am right now. look into the camera, see what's going on, right? Look into the camera, see what's going on, take some notes, right? Be engaged. However, don't speak during the consultation when the mentor is speaking, right? Just like on a three-way call, right? If you have your upline, success coach do a three-way for you, and they're talking, and then you step in and start speaking as well. Once again, you just de-edify them. It's the exact same way in a solo consultation, right? So you want to be engaged, you want to be present, right? You don't want to, be talking, but you want to be present. Because once again, your client is going to take the consultation as serious as you are. So if you're not visible, right, and you're not present, then why should they be? Right? So yeah, hopefully that answers that question.
Tanya, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Tanya, you're still on mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so I have two questions. I know this I know this Zoom is about being a good mentee, but what I want to know is this, right? Shouldn't the mentor take the information the mentee give about the particulars of the client situation, such as their their finances, fixed income, and their budget, etc., before the presentation, so they know what to offer the client? Number one. Number two, shouldn't the mentor give the client three options, right? Such as the lowest, the mid, and the highest proposal, instead of going straight to the highest proposal? Because what I noticed, right, is that
Tanya, I'm sorry. I want to make sure I answer the first question before it gets, I mean, yeah, I want to make sure I answer the first question. And just repeat the first question real quick.
So the first question is this, right? Shouldn't the mentor take the information from the mentee about the particulars of the client situation, such as their finances, fixed income, and budget, before the presentation, so they know what to offer the client? That's the first question.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned as well, right? So this is the point and purpose to have the conversation, brief conversation before the consultation, so the mentor knows a little bit about the client, right? This is a little of the background information that a lot of mentees don't know and don't realize, that to create a proposal for your client sometimes can take some time, right? Based on the different programs that we're using, right? So some mentors may create all proposals for all different options. So once again, this is the purpose to having that conversation beforehand, just to get an idea of who you're dealing with, right? Does that make sense?
It makes sense. But what I notice is that even when given, you know, the information, right? Even when the mentee give the information, I'm talking from experience, even when the mentee give the information to the mentor about the client, financial situation, I noticed that it's like, should I use the word disregarded? Like, I mean, instead of, taking, in consideration of, the person's financial, situation, you're gonna they what I notice is that, the client has been given the most expensive system and the most expensive batteries. And if the client is paying $200 per month for their bill, now all this that is being offered to the client is having them, will have them pay like 300 over what they're paying monthly, which makes absolutely no sense. If I, as a mentee, said to you as a mentor, listen, my client is paying, this person's on a fixed income, right? This person is disabled and this person's on a fixed income. And this person is paying 200 and let's say the person is paying $250 a month, right? Why is it that you as a mentor is going to come on here and present to that client a system that is going to cost them $400 a month? It makes absolutely no sense. You see
Idris,
what
can
I'm
I
saying?
can I Idris
Absolutely.
can I answer that, Idris?
Yeah, let me answer it real quick. And I'm saying it's a good point, but this is why I also mentioned during the consultation to write questions down and then ask the mentor first and foremost. And mentors know this, but as I mentioned, every deal is not a save. You don't save on every deal when going solar, right? Sometimes the price going solar may be higher than what they're currently paying, right? And it still may make sense. So every solar deal is it's not about saving upfront. It could be about saving long term, right? And this is why I said earlier that the mentor is taking your client down a path, right? And you have to allow them to take that client down the path. And if there's something that you don't understand from that path, then this is where you have a conversation with the mentor after and ask, right? And that's a simple way of solving that. But yes, every client and every household, there's not going to be 50% savings, and it's not a dream scenario, right? Every house is different, and this is what we have to do on our end to figure out the best case scenario for that client, right?
And this is why I believe, because I'm not a mentor, right? But
Mhm.
common sense would tell me that, listen, if it is that I have a client in front of me that tells me that he's on a fixed income, why am I going to offer this client the most expensive batteries? I mean, Tesla's wall batteries are not the only ones that we offer, but they're the most expensive. Why would I offer that person those batteries? We have panels that are cheaper, right? Why would I offer, the most expensive panels? You see what I'm saying? I know that you guys are going down a path, right? And I know that, sometimes people, get the system and they're not going to, really save much. But I think, the person's, financial situation should be taken into consideration. And if I say to you that, my bill is this, right? I mean, come on, you know,
So yeah, just
give
just
me,
to
give
jump.
me, give me, give me more than one option. Don't give me the highest option. There's three, just like insurance, you're going to give people three different options. You give them the lowest first, you start with the lowest, you
Absolutely.
give them the mid, then you give them the highest proposal and let
Absolutely. So
them make that
so
decision.
absolutely. Let me just and it's funny you mention that, because what's funny is that this is not insurance, right? Like, this is solar. So solar is slightly different. I do understand your point, but solar is slightly different. And once again, if this is a concern that you're having, it'd probably be best to speak to the mentor to understand exactly what happened and what path they took your client through, right? Because the more you know, the more you'll be able to, kind of like move forward. And also, you can choose other mentors as well, right? So I definitely appreciate your question, though. Who else? I'm sorry,
Let's go with Arlene.
Mr. George, Dr. George. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Dr. George is still in the house. Thank you very much, Idris, for this training. It was greatly needed. And I appreciate the professionalism and the way you handle the consultations with the client. You're extremely patient with the client, but you also make sure that you are the subject matter expert when it comes to the information the client's getting. My question is regarding the once the client has accepted the proposal, there is a post pre-installation process, an installation process, and a post-installation process. What are the expectations for the mentees at that point regarding communication with you as the mentor and communication with the client?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I personally like to keep all of everyone that I work with, all mentees, just in the loop so they understand what's going on, right? It wouldn't be good for a deal to close and then the mentee doesn't know what's going on. So literally every step, or every other step that takes place in the process, once again, I would communicate with the mentee just to let them know, right? Now, the process after a deal closes, literally we have the pleasure of having Freedom take care of that for us, basically, right? So they do all of the steps needed, so we can actually focus on consulting and not necessarily project managing. But as we get updates, we will kind of pass it on to the mentee and just be in communication. right? Just to make sure that you know what's going on. Now, I will say that sometimes there's some things that take place that aren't it's not even necessary to mention, you know. But when the important things are necessary to be mentioned, then this is where the communication should be intact. For instance, like an install, right? And things of that nature. But yeah, definitely in communication, at least on a weekly basis after a deal closes, for sure.
Jim, go ahead and unmute and ask your question. Go ahead and unmute Jim and ask your question. Okay, Jim, we'll come back to you. Jabari, go ahead and unmute and ask your question. Oh, can't unmute? Let's try. Try it now.
There we go. Yes, yes, yes. Man, great job, Idris. Very thorough training. Thank you for laying down the foundation of what we do. Being a mentee, guys, is more than a notion. It's something that you want to really understand. Hopefully, you guys replay this recording so that you get all the steps down. And I just wanted to just piggyback on the question that Tanya had. I'm not sure exactly what happened with your presentation with your mentor, but I would definitely follow up so that you understand what was proposed and what other options you had in mind, because it could be a situation where there weren't any other options. So definitely get with your mentor to figure out what exactly was the thought process behind making those decisions, and don't just make any assumptions, because you may assume that, from the outside, not knowing how the whole process works, you may assume that it could be cheaper. Maybe the mentor had a lot of margin in the project. Like, actually book a 30-minute session with your mentor, go through the project, look at the adders on the project, and figure out why it was priced more than what you think it should be. That's all I really wanted to say. And let me move out the way for the next person that's got a question. Back to you, Chris.
All right, Jim, let's try now.
Okay, thanks. Hey, I had a couple of questions. How long should we be asking for the customer to sit down in the Zoom or the solar consultation? How long? 60 minutes, 90? And then my other question was, if they come online and there's a lot of distractions going on, you see that they're not really focused up, should we let the mentor handle that? Or should we step in and say, hey, look, John, put the baby down, or, touch base with them ahead of time? And then the last question was just about the order of setting up the Zoom call. Do we call the mentor first? Is the mentor going to call us first and we call the customer? So three-pronged question about that.
Got you. Appreciate the question. And the first question was how long of a time frame? Each consultation lasts roughly about 45 minutes or so, right? So that's a safe time frame to give. Obviously, if a deal closes, it may take a little longer, right? But 45 minutes, I believe, is safe. What was the next question?
Whether we should confront something going on in their, when they get on Zoom and they're like, dogs are barking and people talking and all that, do we confront that or let you handle that?
So yeah, it's a joint yeah, I would say let the mentor handle that, obviously. There's a few appointments that I've had to cancel with the mentee on the line because once again the client wasn't in the right setting, right? And in addition to that, obviously everyone's time on a call on a Zoom is valuable, right? So if I'm talking to someone and they're shopping, if I'm talking to someone and they're visiting their parents in the hospital and things of this nature, once again, this is not the right setting to have a consultation to talk about solar, right? So I've had to cancel a few on my, myself. And once again, the mentee can do that as well if they know the client is already in a wrong setting, right? If you don't want the deal to close, then have the appointment anyway. Right. Put it like that.
And then the last one was just the order of you're calling us, we're calling you. Who calls the customer that?
For the appointment of the Zoom?
Yes.
Yeah, so the Zoom link, in most cases, the Zoom link is sent out to everyone. So client and the mentee is going to have the Zoom link to jump on. All right. So I would recommend that the mentee just confirm the appointment the day of and just let the mentor know. Hey, John Smith is confirmed for today at 12. Let me just tell you a little bit about him. John Smith is X, Y, and Z. I'm looking forward to the appointment at 12 o'clock. Right. Very simple. Right. That's what I would say for that.
Great. Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, Jim. All right, we got about 2 minutes now, so the next couple of questions, let's keep them short. Pete, go ahead and jump in.
You guys can hear me?
Yep.
Super
Sure.
short. Just a great shout out to this gentleman right here speaking. I'll tell you, 15 years in solar. Everybody should be listening to this over and over and over again. Right? Over and over and over again. That just makes total sense, and it's all about duplication. So even while we think we might know this, that, pricing, whatever, just learn to duplicate, because that's going to go a lot faster and make you a lot more money than trying to figure everything out. Also, remember this: when you're the mentee and you want to become a tier 2 or tier 3, you're only 2 or 3 sales away from the exact same thing that you're asking him today happening to you, and you're on the other side of the fence. So keep that in mind, that this is about duplication. But Idris, great job, man. Like I said before, you are James Bond, calm, cool, and collected. Back to you.
Appreciate it.
Great, Pete. Jeremy, go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, Idris, I appreciate you getting on today and giving us all your insight on everything. Like, my question is, I always feel awkward at the beginning when I'm introducing the customer and introducing you. Can you kind of go over how I should introduce the customer and then move on to you, or how you would do it, just so I get out of that awkward feeling?
Absolutely. And once again, it's simple, right? Hey, John, that's the client's name. Hey, John, just wanted to introduce you to the solar specialist, right? A few things. His name, this is Idris Alaka, or just Idris, right? He's been in the solar industry for X amount of years. He's helped people all over the country, but he's a specialist in your city, state, or town. That's it.
Okay. I think when I say, hey, Idris, this is John, I think it's where I get kind of awkward instead of just saying, hey, John, I'd like you to meet Idris. He's a solar specialist, and I'll just make it simple like that. Okay. Appreciate it.
No problem. No problem. And
Thanks,
I guess
Jeremy. We'll take Lonnie, and then I think we'll have to wrap it up after that. Go ahead, Lonnie, and unmute.
Okay. Hi there. My question was, you said to write a follow-up time after if the deal does not close. What is that a follow-up about? Is that to find out, why they didn't want it, or are they still interested? I'm not sure what that one's about.
Great question. Great question. So most deals that we do, I've realized that when someone doesn't move forward, they don't move forward because they're saying no. They're saying that, or the reason for the follow-up is because they need to either speak to someone else, they need to look over the numbers, they need to analyze it, they need to pray, they need to do something else where it requires us a follow-up. However, I don't think I've had a consultation that I've done, and most mentors probably say the same thing, where someone said, this doesn't make sense, right? I don't want to do it, right? So that's usually what the follow-up is for.
They have time, they need time to think about it. So if it's a deal that just doesn't go through because it didn't work, we're not following up on that. We're just following up on people. That's my question.
Correct.
Kind of. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. If a deal doesn't work, the mentor will definitely let them know, in the consultation for sure.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Absolutely. Well, once again, guys, I definitely appreciate everyone jumping on and getting a chance to hear this training today. I know we actually have the in-office training taking place in California with JC and the team out there as well. So I guess for those who are going to continue to plug in for the in-person Zoom. I'm sorry, the in-person training. And those who are going to be watching through Zoom, you can definitely stay on. But for everyone else, definitely appreciate your time. And I hope you guys continue to kill it in the field. Take care, take charge. Have a great day.
Thanks, Idris.
All right.
Recording.
Maalala niya. Ay, hindi pa rin niya naalala?